Hello, all you beautiful people. Welcome back to League Unlock. It's been a little while since we went through some fantasy action for the LCS, and I know a lot of people are dying for that fantasy action since, for whatever reason, Riot doesn't want to put anything behind it, doesn't want to set up any sort of system for you to draft your own team and play throughout the season. So we're stuck with settling for only your daily fantasy on DraftKings or whatever other website you're using, but we're going to look in the LCS specifically for some Week 6 action. We've had varying results so far this split, but DraftKings at least did do some updates to player salaries, which is for the better, I think, based on matchups, how expensive guys are going to be. As always, starting in that top lane, and the most expensive, both of them, Licorice and Kumo, the same price, basically. They, in fact, exactly the same price. I feel like it's going to be Kumo. Licorice, the wrist injuries, I don't think a week is enough for him to take off. I think he'll be taking more than that, so I think Kumo's back in there. And remember how insane his debut was for that 2-0 week for Cloud9? He might actually be worth the money going up against Echo Fox, even though Solo has been far and away the best performer on that squad throughout the entirety of the split. You got Broken Blade versus Huni. Big favorable matchup there for TSM, which again is insane to say, or you would have thought is insane to say coming into that spring split, but that's just what has happened here in 2019. Hanser versus Viper. That's an interesting matchup that, I mean, it's not much respect on Viper there. I know FlyQuest has had a pretty abysmal start to summer, but they're looking to finally get back on track. And usually, Dokla versus 100 Thieves is a pick that you would completely stay away from, even if Optic is favorites in that matchup, just because Someday versus Dokla is so lopsided. But remember, it's not Someday these days in that top lane for 100 Thieves. He's too busy playing Yasuo top and completely carrying the Academy squad, which is what he did this week. So no Someday, I don't think, in the LCS for maybe the rest of the summer split. Somebody pick this guy up for next year because he is way too good to be playing in the Academy Leagues. Junglers this weekend for day one. As always, Xsmithy is near the top of the standings, but it is Sven Skaren who's your most expensive jungler. Assume it's going to be him. Blabber hasn't played that many games, and Sven Skaren has looked like one of the better junglers in North America for the majority of the split. Expect him to be there. Contracts is one guy. Even if you're going all in on the Guardians, you think that they're going to take down FlyQuest, he's the guy you don't include. You can go with the team, for the other players, even this new bottom lane. Don't pick Contracts, because even in some of these wins for GGS, he has so many deaths and often isn't even that kill contribution high compared to other junglers. Don't pick Contracts, even if you want to go all in on the Guardians. Pick the other members. Meteos has been a safe bet for the majority of the split, but this Optic 100 Thieves matchup, I think it's pretty even, and DraftKings does obviously have it looked at as pretty even based on the salaries between that matchup, but I might stay away from that one just because it's a little bit too close to a toss-up. And you know those two squads, they do like to play 50-minute games with 7 kills, so I might be staying away from that one entirely here in Week 6. When it comes to mid laners, it's pretty much the same as always. There are the guys you can feel pretty safe about. Froggen, Bjergsen, the top 4 that basically any given week, your top 4 is going to be some variation of Niski, Bjergsen, Froggen, Jensen. Maybe throw Crown in every now and then, but PoE getting a lot of disrespect, and CLG in general getting a lot of disrespect in this Team Liquid matchup. These guys are tied for first. Yes, Team Liquid is probably the better team for CLG than CLG, and it's hard to have faith in them based on their performances in 2018 spring, 2018 summer, and 2019 spring. But last and the cheapest mid laner for PoE seems a little bit crazy. Damonte and Phoenix should definitely be cheaper than he is. So if you want to take a flyer and maybe CLG steps away as the best team in North America, maybe you go with PoE. I'm still too afraid to do that. Froggen is an interesting one. When it comes to mid laners, I'm pretty much always going to shell out the money to pick one of these top 4, whatever matchup you're feeling best about. I mean, Niski versus Phoenix should be a pretty big slide, but Bjergsen against Demonte, I think, is the biggest lopsided one here when it comes to mid laners. And Bjergsen has still had a fantastic split here, as he always does on TSM. He's looked great for them in the majority of their games, so probably a safe bet to go with him. 80 carries, double lift is not the most expensive this week, going up against CLG, which is a new thing to be seeing. He's actually the 3rd most expensive. Sneaky versus Echo Fox. I don't think he's worth the money. I think Sneaky's been the most underwhelming performer on Cloud9 here in the summer split, even though they are tied for first. And Zven, as long as he's not playing Yasuo, then it should be okay for him against Clutch. FBI, one half of the new bot lane for Golden Guardians. Against Wild Turtle, again, that's a little disrespectful for Wild Turtle to be the cheapest against a relatively new bottom lane that had been playing in Academy for the first 4 weeks of LCS action. Stixxay, your 2nd cheapest. Again, he's matched up against Double Lift. What are you going to do? Bang and Aframu have looked pretty solid. You might lean towards them in that bottom lane matchup against Optic, but again, I'm staying away from that game. A little bit too scary. Zven, I think, is a safe bet. Again, no Yasuo. Just play the normal AD carries. And Double Lift, I mean, always hard to not pick against him. When it comes to supports, if you're looking to save some money, then you're not picking Zeyzal, Core JJ, or Smoothie, because they're all very expensive. Is it going to be a bloodbath in any of those matchups? Maybe the Echo Fox C9 one? I don't expect Liquid CLG or TSM Clutch to be that insane of a bloodbath, so maybe not worth shelling out that much money for those supports. Huhi, again, I'm fully expecting to start because definitely an Ole played this week in Academy for the Guardians, and they looked pretty decent in their first couple of games together as that bottom lane. Hakuo against Aframu against Optic, excuse me, and then Biofrost versus Liquid are a couple of intriguing ones, again, if you're going for that upset. But I really like, as you're going to see in a little bit, saving some money on support is something we always talk about, and that's what we're doing this week for our picks. We've talked about FlyQuest versus the Guardians. That's a big way to save some money. Look how cheap Wadid is. I think Wild Turtle and him, that's a little bit of disrespect how cheap they were against them. I know that FlyQuest has been very questionable this whole split, but they had a 2-0 weekend in week 5. I think this is the beginning of the rise back to playoff contention for them. Golden Guardians looked a little bit shaky as well. I think they can get it done against them, and those are the 3 guys that they're going to be doing it through. CLG, I talked about them being disrespected against Team Liquid. I just don't have the faith. I don't think the Golden Age is coming back, so I got them as probably one of, if not my most confident teams that get a win. I know probably shouldn't be. TSM was a little bit more expensive than them, so couldn't quite fit them in as the team. Zven is a very expensive captain, but I do think he gets it done against Clutch. Whenever he has a bad game, like he did on that Yasuo one, he usually bounces back. That's it today for League Unlocked. My name's Eric. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us as always. We'll catch you on the flippity flop.